Record.
Hey. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys. I know it's early. I know this is a new concept for us, but Danielle and I just really had some heart-to-heart conversations about our teams and how we wanted to really pour what we had in our hearts and our time directly into the team here. So we did a little bit of restructuring, and we'll try this, for the next couple months. And if this doesn't work, we'll try something else. But I wanted to do like a breakfast because I know some of us have our mornings, or it's a better time for us to jump on quick for a call, and then at the end of the month we'll have our nighttime one, and the content will be a little bit different on each, so please join both. But this opportunity is so that at least one of these different people from the team can jump in on. I know personally for me, I really need this to reconnect with you guys directly. There's so many incredible opportunities for us as coaches to engage in teams and trainings. And, then people want you to really be a part of that and contribute. And I was getting a little bit lost in all that just for my own personal direction. So I'm really excited to kind of come back and focus on us. And Danielle and I have our success partner meetings every Monday, and we really have a lot of great content and ideas and things that we just want to be able to pour to you guys so that you can take those to your teams as well. I have some fun content to cover today, and I know Danielle has a couple things, but I'll let her get started with the recognition first.
All right. Hey, guys. Yeah, and before I go into recognition and announcements, I do want to second what Erica said. We just felt a really strong pull from both of our groups and ourselves that if we are going to make any headway, we really need to step up and become leaders of our team and not really just relying on the Good Vibe Tribe. They have excellent content. I personally am never going away from their content. I love it. I think it's a wise investment, but at the same time, we really need to pour into our teams as well. And I can understand where that environment for brand new coaches is very overwhelming. And so Erica and I's goal with this is to make it a little less overwhelming and a little more personal to you guys. We want to talk about what you want to hear about personally. And don't ever, if you want to continue with the Good Vibe Tribe calls on Tuesday night, the intention behind those calls was originally as a training call. And so I am hoping that is the direction that they will continue. If it's not, we'll be here with training and specific team stuff. So let's get going. I'm going to share my screen. I always forget how to do that. Okay. So let's open up this PDF here and get some recognition going. So somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Thanks, Sarah. Erica, good. Okay, so we're going to start off with regular old recognition, and that is the Changing Lives Club. Erica and Megan are both at SC2, which is excellent. We have 3 new coaches on our collective teams. Autumn Porter, which I don't know who is, but I feel a kinship with her for some reason. Mark Martin and Nikki Culver. So I'm excited to see where the new coaches kind of plug in. I hope that they will plug into our team. And if they listen to the recording, hi. So, okay. So the other thing that Erica and I really feel very strongly about is not just recognizing people for the traditional beach body stuff. We want to recognize people for the other stuff that they're doing in their lives too, because that, ultimately that all feeds into us and, deriving your self-worth from Success Club points. While yes, that does create income for you, a lot of us aren't in this for the income. We're in this for the personal growth, and we're in this for other stuff. And so we want to recognize you guys for that. Sorry, I have dinosaur training listeners over there. So the first up is Megan. I know you're listening while you get Hazel ready for school, but we wanted to recognize your authentic sharing and sharing about the fear that you felt stepping out of your comfort zone, going out and meeting someone new. Normally, I will stop here. I don't normally read slides, but I know there's some of you listening that cannot see the slides, so I don't want you to feel like you're missing the content. Your fearlessness and willingness to say yes to last week's obstacle led to the boldness of this week in taking care of a new Gold Star wife. I know you shared with our group how disappointed you were last week, and I could not articulate in typing what I wanted to say to you, but you saying the outcome of last week had nothing to do with last week. What it had to do with is building a fearless confidence so that you can take those hits and rebound, because the more you're authentic and the more you share, the more the hits are going to come. So you need to be able to always take that, fail forward, as Siggy was screaming at me this morning, and go into the next week. And like I said, I truly believe that your fearlessness last week set you up for your fearlessness this week. And congratulations. And we're really excited for you for that. Ivy. I wanted to recognize Ivy for her adventures in breastfeeding. I am always so impressed with women who do not think twice about sharing their journey with breastfeeding. I think it's an underlooked, it's a trend to be like, yeah, I'm so pro breastfeeding, but there's a lot of women that truly struggle with that. And even if one person saw your post and was like, oh yeah, that's right, that's my story too, I just want to say good job on that and keep doing what you're doing. Sarah Kiefer, we were all very impressed with you sharing boldly about your love of weights and what they do for a woman's body. I know that sometimes you guys are afraid to go on rants, but be fearless in that. Go on a rant. Take the hits as they come. Like I said with Megan, the more you share authentically, the more opportunity you have to touch someone else. If you choose to keep all that in and only share it when someone asks you about it, your scope of who you're influencing diminishes, and that's not what we're about in Being You Bravely. We're about being you bravely. So I just wanted to say good job with that. And then Tanya, sharing about not feeling like working out after your vacation. Good job with that. I know there are so many, myself included, who they're doing really good, and then they hit a lump, they go on vacation, their family comes to visit, and they feel like they're set back. And that is where the rubber meets the road. That's when your decision power is, do I stick with this or do I fall back into my old habits? And you sharing that authentically touches other people. And I just wanted to highlight what you said because it really touched me personally. And part of your post said that you recognized that you were more than that feeling of not wanting to do it. And I think we all get trapped in the, Ashlyn, get out of that. Sorry, we all don't get trapped in that. We all get trapped in that, well, I don't really feel like it, but you're more than that feeling, and putting that out there is really bold, and I'm really excited about that for you. So good job for authentic sharing, you guys. And then just a few little announcements. Challenge packs are still at $140 through the end of this month. The majority of them are. I'm not going to go through and list them. If you want to look at them, go to your back office. Success Club prize this month is anybody who hits Success Club 5, which is helping 3 people get started with a challenge pack or more. That is the, invitation to a personal development webcast hosted by social media and technology expert Eric Qualman. And he wrote a book called What Happens in Vegas Stays on YouTube. And so as people who are in the social media world, it'll be exciting to hear from an expert on what he has to say. And we always pump up, invite. If you don't know what you're inviting to, you certainly cannot invite to anything. So our collective team, Erica and I, are both hosting together the Fight Club, which is the free group that starts October 23rd through the 29th. It will incorporate the new Joel and Jericho program, Core to Force, because there'll be another sneak peek of that. And we're hyping that up for our December launch group of that. I am doing a Gratitude and Move 21-day fix group the month of November leading up to Thanksgiving. And so if you've done any of the PIO Gratitude and Moves, it's going to be like that, except with 21-day fix to get you headed into the holiday season kind of on the right foot. And then Erica is doing the Ultimate Reset in November. I didn't know your exact dates, Erica, but if that's a program that you've been considering, I will tell you from personal experience, it really, really, really helps to do it with someone. Texting back and forth about how much you really don't want to be doing this, and showing each other your commitment bracelet and saying, damn it, I just really want cake, but I have this bracelet on and I hear your voice saying, don't eat that cake, Danielle, really helps. So if you've ever considered that, I will tell you it's one of the most challenging programs, but it's one of the programs that I have seen the most gain in my personal health. So definitely worth it. And that is it from me, Erica. I'm going to unstop my share here and mute myself and take the floor, lady.
Sweet. So I'll be doing the Ultimate Reset November 1st through the 21st. And anybody is welcome. If right now just my husband and I are doing it together, but if anybody else, or if you have a challenger that's talked about it before, even if you're not going to do it, I'm more than happy to take them through it with me. And I can do a little challenge tracker app group for that. It is very dedicated. It's one of the hardest things I've done. It is one of the biggest investments as well. But the payoff is so amazing. And I know it's like torturous, but I've done it. This will be my third time. So there's definitely a payoff there that I keep coming back for. It'll be interesting. I'm going to do a really good job of cataloging the 21 days and for social media, especially because my husband's doing it with me and he's not 100% a believer in what it's going to do for him. And it's going to be a challenge because he works. So I'm going to have to really spend a lot of time prepping his food. And so I'll be sharing all of that. So it should be an interesting kind of journey to share and follow as well. But let me know if you or you have anybody else that wants to do it. But content-wise today, I'm really excited. So 2 things that I'm going to cover in, I won't be too long because I know Danielle has some stuff and that we all have big days ahead of us. One is a little bit, I love, Sarah, that you already mentioned avatar. I know you and Tanya have been going through kind of this cool process of really honing in on your avatar. And so just as kind of a personal development, reflection, awareness type thing, that may change. And, right now it's good to know that. I personally had to reflect back and be like, why was I such a hot mess in September? I mean, I know I was not engaging in the vital behaviors. That's like number one, right? But I also was not prepared for the transition of like who I was, like kind of as a person and how to articulate that. We always think of transitions, especially in the military, as like a PCS. All right, I know, I can plan, I've got it. Like I got this transition down, it's not going to stop me. But then like mid-September, I was like, I just feel kind of like out of control what's going on. And part of the personal development, I was like, okay, you have to like those emotions and what they're connected to, like what is the foundation of that? Like what is going on inside? And I'm like, oh, okay. I've been a stay-at-home mom with 2 young kids for 10 years now, right? When I started coaching, I had 2 young kids. I had a baby, I had a toddler, I had a kindergarten, like all of that was who I was. And that's what the past 2.5 years I've built my coaching business on. And then all of a sudden, my dog died in August, and my 2 kids both started school. So all of a sudden, I had nobody, absolutely nothing in the house with me all day long. So that was like a weird personal thing that I was not prepared for. I was like, oh yeah, kids are in school, I'm gonna have so much free time. And I was excited for them, and I'm still excited to have that time for me. But it was like, oh wow, I don't have the same voice. So I've got to figure out what that voice is and how I can share that with people to continue to build my business. So that was a huge mental shift. And I can honestly say if I hadn't been doing personal development, I probably would have like crumbled farther down than I would have just like with a little mental like, oh, okay, I need to get control of this and figure out what I'm doing. So I know sometimes like we plug away at personal development and we may feel like we're just going through motions, but those are the times when you're like, oh, this is why I do personal development. This is why I have to know these things about myself. This is why I have to build this foundation of tools and resources that I can fall back on during those times that do get a little bit rough. So I just want to always continue to, encourage you guys to do that. Find something that means something to you. And that's also part of your avatar. You can really align your personal development with who you are and who your avatar is. Because if you're reading something in personal development, that's not going to, and you read personal development, it inspires posts, it inspires thinking, it inspires, how you share your social media story. If none of that is going to relate to your avatar, then, you're kind of setting yourself back. So just be really cognizant of that when you guys are going forward. And I always know it's kind of common practice after a call like this to have a call to action. So once we post this recording, share with me and Danielle, like what your personal development is for this month, like what you guys are engaged in. It can be 15 minutes a day. It can be 30 minutes a day. It can be podcasts, books. I did the Miracle Morning last month. And as somebody who has been getting up now early for about a year, it's still totally changed my whole concept of getting up early, like to the extent where I'm like, oh, wow, like this is a whole new journey in getting up early. So that is a really, really excellent one for those of you who are not morning people like me, absolutely hate it, still hate it every day until about 45 minutes into being awake. Then I'm like, oh yeah, awesome. This is why I do this every morning. And then I'm reading the 10 times rule, which is really cool because it can apply to everything in life, relationships, finances, business, coaching, friendships. So that's another really good one. So that was just my little plug for some personal development and just kind of a reflection of my growth and my change, and just encouraging you guys to always kind of be aware of those things that are going on. We all have crazy life experiences, life connections, responsibilities, And we just always have to be aware of how those weave together to share our story and who we are and how we can grow. But what I'm really excited about is I had some time over the weekend that I was able to spend in the car by myself for like 2 hours. So I was just like absorbing podcasts as much as I could. And Shalene Johnson has always kind of been a foundation of podcasts and our businesses as coaches, but also like girl boss, right? She's got it down. And she's really good at seaming that all together. So 2 points from what I listened to over the weekend that I want to share with you guys. One is how our journeys progress. And I've seen this in myself. And so I want you guys to think about it, because it may give you some really good opportunities to come up with posts and things to share. Because I know sometimes we always struggle with, what am I supposed to share today? Like, what is going on in my life? Nothing. I've just been sitting here all day. But those deeper reflection moments are what can kind of bring, some new ideas to the table. And she said this in one sentence, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. How have I never put that together? She said, a fitness journey will lead to a personal development journey, and that will lead to a business journey. And I'm like, holy crap, that is so true. Like, I can pinpoint those points. Like, I can plot that map out and how I've developed. And she's like, there's no secret sauce to that. It's not a secret. Like, that's how we grow as people. When you're not well in your body or your mind, you can't focus on anything else, because you're just stuck there and you're not well. And if your body's not feeling good, then that's the first place your mind goes. And that just captivates every energy that you have. So when that tension or illness or just self-loathing starts to go away, those little opportunities for personal development start popping up. Like, okay, I feel good. I know I'm doing something good for myself. And then you've got this area of your brain that now can accept and acknowledge, okay, now that I've got this under control, what can I work on as me? How can I be a better mother? How can I be a better spouse? How can I be a better friend? Just a better person, human out to the world. And once that you feel really strong in that, then you're you have this whole other area where okay, I'm feeling really strong. I have done this. I have done this. Now what is out there for me? And it's really cool that Beachbody kind of seams that all together. And even for me personally, I've seen that one step farther with, I now have the confidence in who I am, even, what I look like. If 2.5 years ago, I standing in front of people, even talking to people, I didn't do that because I hated how I looked. And I know that sounds really, really ridiculous and shallow, but that was my self-confidence level at that point. I didn't want people to see me. I wanted to hide. I may have had these amazing ideas and things I wanted to say in my head, but I wasn't going to do that because people would be looking at me when I did that. And so that definitely had to change before I could do anything else. So it's interesting how those very seemingly shallow things are really the deepest things in us that stop us, those fear-based things, from doing what we're really actually meant to do in life. So pictures, yes, pictures. And I used to do that. I used to hide behind my kids. And, I look back and there's one picture specifically I think I've shared on Facebook a couple times. And my baby's this big, right? And I'm holding him in front of me. He doesn't cover anything of me up. But I remember thinking in that moment, maybe if I hold him here, people will look at how amazing he is instead of how disgusting I am. And that's just I can get teary-eyed thinking about that now. But that's the place that I was. And it's such a different person than who I am now. But acknowledging that still exists a lot out there in the world. And so, that's part of my passion and why I'm coaching. But, so that piece of it, acknowledging and looking back at your journey, because knowing that growth pattern in you and where you are in that growth pattern is really important to be able to key in on A, how to share that, and B, how to map out where you're going next. If there's some still, personal development's ongoing, but what are the things that you have stepped past to take you to that next level? I think that's really important and powerful to actually share and articulate. The more that you put out the experiences that you're having, the stronger that kind of connects the people around you to you. The other thing is a quick little quip. She was talking about sales and marketing and business. And if you guys have something to write this down. Otherwise, I'm going to make a graphic out of it because it's my new favorite thing. And I want to apply this to how we have conversations, how we follow up with people who either respond to our invites or comment on our Facebook pages and our Facebook posts. It's be bright, be bold, be brief, and be done. And I loved that because I've had a lot of people asking me I have all this information and I just feel like I give too much information, and what's the right way to respond to somebody. And I know we get excited, and so we just like, bleh, we just like vomit out all this amazing information, which really means nothing to the person you're talking to yet, right? They have not had your experience, and I think you have to remember that. So the be bright is, you know, your positivity and your energy. If you're like, well, I do beach body, you know, like if you're like Eeyore about it, that's going to, even if you're typing and you're feeling like Eeyore, that's going to come across. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it will. So be bright and be energetic when you're sharing that. The be bold is boldness. And I love that Danielle said bold several times before we even got to that point today, because that's the truth. You know, it's team be you bravely. I even feel like we need to like scratch out bravely and be bold. I feel like we've been brave now. Like we need to take that a step further and have that boldness to what we're talking about. And that's just confidence in what you are talking to them about. If you're still unsure of sharing the opportunity with somebody and you're hesitant, that's going to come across in your wording. And I've gone back to conversations or even posts that I made like 2.5 years ago. I'm like, no wonder nobody like responded to me, because I didn't even sound confident in what I was sharing in that, you know, messaging. And for me, the hardest part of that was the money factor. I had a hard time being bold with the investment that was attached to what I was sharing with people. And so you would just have to really become comfortable. And the way in doing that is believe in it yourself. And that's a hard like switch in your mind to get to until you just get there. So just think about that. But be bold. And I think all of you are, I think that's something that's kind of neat, that each of us on our team are very bold in our own avenues. Like we have our certain ways that we're really, really awesome at being bold with. And then I learn from every time I see a post, I'm like, oh, like she was really bold in how she worded that. Like I need to do a better job at being bold in this area or this area. So that learning that from each other. Be brief is just be brief, right? Be brief in what you are explaining to somebody. What is Shakeology? Oh gosh, that's like a loaded question. Like, where do you even start with that? Like, don't give them a PDF. Don't give them a website. Talk to them. And you can even start it with, you know, for me, Shakeology has done this. Like, for me personally, Shakeology is my breakfast. I hate breakfast. I'm not a big breakfast person. But if I don't eat something, then by 10 o'clock, I'm going to just like pig out. So for me, it's that morning dense nutrition where I know I've got something in my body. It's post-workout. I do work out fasted, so I don't eat before I work out. And it's also, I like to talk to people about, before we started Shakeology, Matt and I were in California and we were buying all of these like little like herbal tonic vitamin things that were like this big, and they were the tinctures, and they're like $22 for a stupid little bottle. It was like magic, right? It was supposed to make you feel energized. And we were like trying all these things to like make us feel better. Well, we weren't eating right. We weren't exercising. So I don't know what we expected to happen, but that's where most people start. So that's what I share. Like, share your journey. Don't take quotes from PDFs or copy and paste people's blog information. Talk to them about how you use Shakeology. And the briefness is, so I like to, like, when I was in 7th grade, we were taught to have conversations like a tennis ball game. Throw the ball, it comes back. You throw the ball, it comes back. So I try to do that in my messaging when I'm talking to people, like a small little paragraph, and then ask a question. Let them respond. Respond to that question at the end. Let them respond. And that keeps the forming and the conversation going, so that you just don't like send, you know, you can see visually, you don't just send like a whole huge paragraph like this. Because guess what? They're probably not going to respond because they're like, I don't know what to say now. So always when you send, before you click that send button on a piece of message that you're sending somebody, put a question at the end of it, because then that prompts them to respond versus just giving information. Like, what do you think about that? Or how would you use it? Or what exactly are you looking for? Like, just put a question at the end of what you're responding to. So be bold, or be bright, be bold, be brief, and then be done. And not done as in, okay, done, walking away. Just be done as far as don't drag on the conversation and don't push it past the point of what that person is responding to you at that moment. But I also like those 4 statements. By the way, are using Ingrid's Yukon. I am not using Ingrid's Yukon right now. I'm just using data, so I'll pay for that later. But that's also a really cool way to explain Beachbody programming to people. And you can even use that as a way to say, you know, if somebody's like, well, tell me a little bit about, you know, the programs. You can say, well, I really like to describe it in like 4 simple ways. Be bright, be bold, be brief, and be done. Because if you think about it, all of our programs do that, right? Be bright. They're very positive. They're very energetic. Be bold. Like some of those movements you're never going to have done before, but you're going to get a lot out of it. Be brief and be done. 30 minutes, 22 minutes, and then you're done. So I really liked how you could connect it to conversations and forming, but also in how to explain to people. It always helps to have a little like a script, I guess, like a way to explain so that, when you enter that conversation, it's kind of like your little saying or your little motto. And so that could even become how you start to respond to those questions when you talk to people is, oh yeah, well, I really love to explain challenge packs, with these 4 little things, and here's why. And I think that's just a good foundation to kind of base that off of. So that's all I really had to share. I was like super excited. And if you guys don't listen to Shalene's podcast, she has 2 of them. One of them is Build Your Tribe. And I think Danielle's going to talk about something from one of those in a second. And the other, what's the other one? Build Your Tribe. I think it's just called the Shalene Show. Yeah, it's just called the Shalene Show. And it's a little bit more businessy driven, but a lot of really great content. So I'll let Danielle give her piece, and then we can all chat at the end for a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. And I'm taking notes while you're talking. And I have listened to what you've listened to, but I've never connected. I mean, I hear her say that. That's her tagline at the end of everything. And I love it. Like, I've never connected it with how I speak to people. And I think that what you shared with how to explain the challenge pack, how to explain Shakeology. Are you okay? That excuse me, I have a stuffed child.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I said Shakeology and children welcome.
I know that hurt.
I should have known better. I wore a white shirt and my Shakeology in the car. What do you think happened?
Oh no.
I have like Shakeology all down the front of my shirt. And I'm not going home between now and like 3 o'clock, so we'll just have to figure it out.
Yeah, so anyways, back to what I was saying. Yeah, and really my plug is also for the Shalene Show. Like, she's not paying us to talk about her. She just is that good. And I realize everybody doesn't connect with her. And to be very honest, in the beginning of my relationship with Shalene, I really did not connect with her. But through getting to know her in her podcasts, she's incredibly genuine. She shares authentically about her struggles and her journey and is bold. I mean, she really is. Something that I struggle with is the work-kid-home balance. And she flat out addresses that in her podcast. And she says there, guys, come on, that she had to take a step back during her child's graduation because she will never, ever get those moments back. And I think, that doesn't resonate with me because I don't have kids in graduation time frame. And, we can all attribute our children's whole life to like, well, I don't want to miss any moment. And of course you don't. But Sarah and I have had conversations about showing your kids that mom is more than a cruise director of event planning for them. Encouraging them to go out and build a fort, and mama's not going to help you do that. Like, I know that we all want to be in every moment. We don't want to miss anything. But at the same time, we need to be very cognizant of overstepping that boundary line into stunting. And I'm sure Erica could go into this as well, stunting their development, but filling that time with something that they can be proud of their parent, their mom. I mean, we're all women here, their mom, their, whoever with. So she talked about that, and that really resonated with me. She has her husband talk sometimes, Brett, and he's just funny and totally different than her, and I love it. But one of the podcasts that I listened to that stood out to me and it stood out to me in not a way that he even talked about it, which I think is funny, and I'll kind of talk about what I got from it versus what his intention behind it was. His intention was, let me look at the name of the meeting. Meetings with Meaning was the name of it. And so he's running down, his intention behind it is how to not have a sucky meeting. How to, and as Erica and I are foraying into hosting our own meetings here, I wanted to be good at that. And so inviting people to bring their kids to a morning meeting, that kind of thing, don't put yourself on this little okay, well, if we're going to have a meeting, and by meeting, I mean meaning to form someone. Like, Megan, I know your intention was to go out and have a Starbucks meeting with this girl. And that's a great way of doing it. And that was actually what I ended up getting out of his thing. And it's something that as I've progressed in my Beachbody career that I've noticed that I do, and that some of the really income successful coaches do, is they don't sit behind social media and get new friends. Yeah, that's part of what they do during their daily power hour. But what they're doing is becoming a member of their community. They're joining organizations. They're running with Team RWB. They're getting a job outside of the home sometimes. Like, September and August was really big for me because I went to a bunch of different conferences, and I was bold and I said, hey, can we connect on social media? Like, let me be your Facebook friend. Same thing with, Erica and I led give me a second, I'm in a meeting. I'll get you some in a minute. Erica and I, what was I going to say? Totally lost my train of thought. Sorry, the orange juice thing. But getting out of the mindset of the only way you can make new Facebook friends is through, I know what it was. Erica and I led the Good Vibe Tribe webinar on meeting new people in Facebook groups. And yeah, that's awesome. And yes, that is a valuable use of your time, but don't let that disqualify for you from meeting people face to face, because where you're going, what you're interested in. If you for example, I went to a Strength to Thrive conference. It's a conference for military women. Part of my avatar is a military mom. So where am I at? I'm in a conference full of military women. No, they don't all meet my avatar, but I sure as heck want to meet them. And so just saying, and I realize that sometimes that's an awkward thing to do. Be like, hey, can we be friends on Facebook? It seems a little desperate. But I promise you that other person is thinking the same thing. They are. They're thinking, how do I ask this person to be my friend on a bigger level? How do I keep in touch? That's what sometimes I'll say. I'll just say, hey, can we just keep in touch on Facebook after this? Had a good time with you today. Can you show me how to be friends with you on Facebook? And saying that over and over and over, that's the only way that it's going to get more natural for you. So ask everybody. And so what if they don't want to be your friend on Facebook? It's no reflection of your self-worth. Don't spend a lot of time on it. Just write down their name. My phone died. And so normally this is my my business card. A lot of times in the beginning of our Beachbody business, we get a lot of coaches asking, well, should I get business cards? And I got business cards, especially because, Matt and I had decided that we wanted this to be more than just a Beachbody business for us. This is his post-retirement plan, is our resiliency center. And so I was like, oh, it'll make me look official. Well, it's not 1992, and most people don't hand out business cards anymore. Jackie said something to me that forever impacted me, and I'm like, dang it, why did I not think of that? I hate it when somebody says something, and I'm like, I should have thought about that. I'm smart enough to think about that. But what she says is when you hand the business card, and it's the introvert's best friend, and this is a team full of, the majority of us are introverts, you're giving them the control. You're giving them the control of contact, and you're taking that away from yourself. Yes, it feels good because then you're like, whoo, here's my business card. I don't have to do anything else. It's all on God now. God's going to connect us. And yeah, that's great. But why can't we be the ones to reach out to them? You say, you sitting right there and saying, hey, Erica, let me just find you on Facebook really quick. Add as friend, we're done. You don't even have, be the introvert you want to be. I don't care. Don't reach out to them. Like we talked about in our thing in Good Vibe Tribe. Don't reach out to them for a week. Kind of stalk them and see what they post. If they don't look like your avatar, I don't want to say not look like your avatar. Well, I guess I do. If they don't look like your avatar, don't spend a ton of time on them forming. And maybe I'll pull pieces of my avatar out of them. If it's meant for you to work with them, something will connect. Now, if they do look like your avatar, I know, stretch break. Sorry, I'm talking too much. If they do look like your avatar, invest your time in them. If when you met them at the grocery store or whatever, you know, if they seem like, yeah, they're kind of my type of person, then send them a message, because most likely they've already posted something or shared something or commented on something that's popped up on your newsfeed that you can use as a connecting tool. So like I said, Brett's talked about ways to make meetings great, but be a little creative in how you approach a meeting with a new person. If you're meeting with a mom of a child, invite them to a play date. It's hard don't expect them to find time in their schedule to have their kids in childcare so that you guys can meet. Yeah, it's more convenient. Yeah, you can think clear-headedly, but you're adding a burden of responsibility on that person to meet you at your level. Sometimes we need to just meet them at their level. And so if that means that face-to-face meetings don't work with them, then don't do a face-to-face meeting with them. If that means, you know, coffee after they drop their kids off with school works for them, grab coffee after. So what if you don't drink coffee? Get a tea. Like, don't make it awkward. If you want to avoid the food, like for me, food is a very social lubricant. But that doesn't always go with my goals. So if it's not a meal time, don't ask the person to go to a meal place. Say, hey, can we go to the park and walk? Like, just walking and getting out spurs conversation. Sometimes when it feels like a very formal meeting, people tense up and they don't share themselves. But if sometimes you need to use food as a social lubricant. Hey, you want to go out and grab lunch? Like, people start eating and they start talking about stuff that they would have never talked about otherwise. So be a little creative in how you're getting to meet people. Don't feel like you have to be stuck behind a computer to connect with new people. Go to your PWC. And I know I feel like the one lone extrovert talking to a group of introverts telling you all to get out of your house and stop being agoraphobic. Like, I'm sorry. But if you're going to push yourself outside your comfort zone, push yourself outside your comfort zone. Maybe that means signing up for a conference, a one-day conference at a church. Maybe that means joining PWC. Maybe that's even bigger. I listened to this incredible live, I don't know what you call them, like not a podcast, but live talk from Danielle Natoni, who I just adore. She's fit and funky. And she talked about how if our goal in Beachbody is to be one of the, let's say top 100, you need to be a leader, not just of your team, but in your community. When people see you, you better sure as heck have your nice face on, like, because you don't want to be that one person, or that to be that one person that then finds you on social media and is like, I don't care about her. She was a jerk to me in the line at Starbucks. Like, if you're going to be a leader, be a leader. That doesn't just translate to your own personal teams. That translates into all 4As. And I think Erica is a great example of that. She stepped outside of her comfort zone with Beachbody, and you've shared that a lot as your, like you said, your fitness turned into more of a physical confidence. Your person that led you to personal development. I'm able to work on that. Led you to business development. And to watch you from 10 years ago to now, you're not the same person anymore. And that's exciting. And so, but that didn't come from staying in your box. It didn't. You had to move out of your box. You had to get out of the mindset of, well, I'll just go to the gym and do cardio for 30 minutes because that's how I lose weight. You had to try something new. You had to get out of your box of personal development. Sarah and I have talked a lot about, like, well, yeah, I've done personal development all my life. I do devotionals every morning. Well, that might be spiritual development, but is that pushing you to a new platform? Is that pushing you where you need to go? If it's not, you need to make an adjustment. Same with a business venture. If sitting behind a computer drags you down, don't do it. Reach out, send your 5 invites, and get up off your tail and go meet somebody new at wherever, whatever. So just be bold, be bright, be brief, and be done. So that's what I had to say. So that's pretty much it for me. We're rounding into an hour, and I don't want to keep people. Erica, you want to hop in and close us out?
Sure. Thank you. That was awesome. And you just keep making me think of, and the thing is, the more you push forward through that journey, there's always going to be something that pops up that you're like, no, I don't do that. Or no, that scares the crap out of me. And that's our first response. And you have to allow your brain to be like, okay, that was my emotional response. Now what is the true response? This happened to me yesterday. And Danielle, you saying I'm not the same person as I was, 10 years ago. I was invited yesterday to come up to the War College, which if you guys don't know what that is, that's where all officers go before they become generals. And it's Carlisle Barracks up in Pennsylvania. And I was invited to come be a keynote speaker to the entire like community in March or April. And I laughed when I read it. I was like, me? It's like, what in the hell would I have to say to these people, right? And I was like, well, I'm honored. I'm not sure like how. And so I was thinking this. I was like, you know what? I can't reply timidly. I have to reply boldly. And I was like, sure, I'd be honored to. What would you like me to talk about? And that was my reply. Totally out of my comfort zone, not what I wanted to say, but I knew I had to go the opposite of what my first response was as an introvert, because that was an opportunity given to me, and I can handle it and I can do it. I just don't want to, but that's a different story. So I'm like, all right, I've got like 6 months I can prepare. Like, I got this. So anyway, there's always going to be something that pops up that you're going to be like, I don't do that, or no, I'm not prepared for that. And you just have to you have to take it. And you have all done so far. Coaching, Beachbody, no, I said for 7 years, I don't do Beachbody. No, look at me now. So just be sure that you're aware of those moments, because those moments will change your life. The moment that you decide to say yes to something that normally you would be afraid to say no, you would normally say no to because of fear. Those are the moments that you'll have the biggest change in your life. So thank you guys so much for coming on this morning. If anybody wants to, if you have a question, we can take 5 or 10 minutes if anybody wants to talk about anything. I know Tanya's at work, so she won't be able to. So really, Sarah, it's up to you.
Well, and if Tanya, if you want to type it in the chat box,
yeah, that's true.
As well.
Well, this is totally a little bit off topic, but Erica, I asked Daniel about this yesterday, but do you guys have a men's group? Sorry, I just need to ask this. A men's Facebook, whatever group. Because again, I love these personal development calls, but I can't get my husband, or I have wives whose husbands want to join. I have nowhere to put them.
So are you not wanting to be the coach, or you're just needing?
No, I don't mind being a coach, but they're looking for less estrogen. Our groups are very, and I noticed this actually randomly in church, in Sunday school the other day, where all the women were just like, at the co-ed Sunday school. And I was like, I heard one man speak up, and I was like, that's the problem.
I don't have a place. I don't have a lot of male, and my husband is super supportive, but he's not really involved in the coaching.
Yeah, that's how mine is.
So I don't, and I really don't think even in Viva Vita we have a really strong, there are strong top coaches, but being involved in their challenge groups may be hard. I know Matt Porter has done a group. I know Danielle also has a new male that may become an amazing coach. So, short answer right now is no. We don't really have a great place. I think, though, we've had guys even the Beauty and the Beast, even the Health Bet. I think you may just have to, while there may be a lot of females in there, our content isn't necessarily, I don't think any of our content is female-driven. No. I think most of it is applicable to health and wellness. You may just have to do a better job of articulating that.
Okay. And that was just kind of totally off subject. I just wanted to double check while I had you here on the whatever. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about, as far as the personal development and the sharing and boldly, is how do you guys get around some of the touchy subjects? I'm realizing as I'm developing my avatar, there's a very certain niche that I want to address, and it has to deal with sexual harassment, etc. But I can't figure out how to target that. Does that make sense? I'm having trouble with some of the.
Can you give me an example, Sarah? We're among friends here. Say what you mean.
So, yeah, well, that's kind of what I mean. It's the idea of body shame issues because you've been the target of sexual harassment, and where do you draw that line between vanity and playing into their hands, so to speak, or presenting yourself as a beautiful, confident woman and then getting written off because of your appearance? I'm not sure.
So my best start for you, and I've had some interesting experiences in that persona avatar recently with moving out into the business world, which we can talk a different time. But I think the first thing would be to follow some people. Like, is there somebody, a leader in that kind of niche that you identify with? If not, there's, her name's Erin Brown, and you can find her on Facebook. She was kind of the first person that ever gave me like this self-confidence and fitness before I ever started Beachbody. She's the one that wrote Your Scale is a A-hole. It's like my favorite blog ever. And she's very much, she comes from, she had some pretty traumatic abuse situations in her past, and how that has just wrapped up in her self-confidence and how she believes in how women should be portraying their bodies and all this stuff. So she may be a good person to just kind of follow for some ideas, and kind of wrap your brain around how she targets and how she shares that story to a certain amount of people. I can't think of any specific Beachbody coaches where that's kind of like their message or their platform.
Well, it's not my only one, but it speaks to me. And it's one of those things that I'm realizing is more important. Like, it's as I'm working on the avatar, but even before then, like realizing how much of me is trying to merge into like you and Danielle's like avatar, like who you guys are targeting. I'm like, okay, I can do all these things. And I'm like, this doesn't fit me. Like, I think it's great, but it doesn't fit me. Like, it doesn't fit who I am. For example, I don't have a fantastic weight loss story. My body issues tend to be more about shame and guilt for my appearance, as opposed to wanting to look different, if that makes sense. So it was one of those, like, I'm slowly beginning to realize, like, I have valid issues, I have valid points, you know, etc. But I'm not targeting them. So, you know, doing the avatar, I'm realizing, okay, these are the areas. And I have like one or two people that I've really connected with on Instagram about these areas that I didn't mean to, but ended up like in that conversation. So I was like, okay, I want to do something more with this. And I was just trying to figure out a way to do it that wasn't, I don't know, more than I want it to be. Like, I don't want it to be sensationalist, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it needs to be authentic and real and approachable, and not a play for like pity, for example, you know, like I don't want to.
Yeah, no, you want it to be empowering.
Yeah.
So my advice would be look at Erin Brown. I mean, there's other people out there, and then find some personal development, maybe whether it's written by people who specialize in shame and guilt, or like even Brene Brown stuff is a lot of shame type stuff. And then that way, the more you learn about what you're passionate about, it gives you a new voice, and new terminologies, and a new vocabulary to just make that greater, so that you become this bigger person with that bigger passion, and you can share that better. So a lot of that's like, you know what you feel, now you just have to be able to find that articulation, right? And that's an introvert's worst problem. Like, it's all here. Like, if I could just plug something here and project it out, we'd be good to go. Right. But it's like that translation piece. Like, there's something that happens in this part from like here to here that just it's all. Yeah, I got you.
Language is crude, not.
But you're a writer too. So also, like, if it takes you writing something down, and then reading that, and then knowing how to then like voice that, like, then that's what you need to do. But you're an excellent writer, so maybe, you know, a lot of that comes from doing kind of the research, learning the vocabulary, learning the terminology, the kind of leaders in that shame and guilt and body issue community, and then starting to build up from there.
I can do that. Okay.
Well, and Sarah, another thing, like Erica was saying, finding some personal development or books in that realm. Also, a good way that I have found to give myself a voice in that is to use quotes from that to start my, you know, I know we all don't want to be the cliche quote girl, but using a little bit of a quote from that to give it their voice kind of softens the blow when it comes to your voice. And I truly stand behind that. If you are authentic about it and you truly are not coming from a place of sensationalizing something, it will not read that way.
Yeah, that's my concern. I just don't want a whole bunch of like, oh, like.
No, well, you say that. I have said that in posts. Like, I'm not looking for a bunch of pity in this. I'm sharing with you this part of me because it's what's happening in my life right now. You know, like, yeah. I mean, I would just say
that I'm getting there with like some of the skinny, fit, strong posts, because that again is also a passion. Because I get tired of. I had that one troll that was like, "You have an eating disorder," and I was like, really? Thanks for that.
But there's a huge community of people that struggle with that and who feel that get those comments from people who are just thoughtless and cruel because they're not connecting the actual person that they're talking, to with that. I was going to say something else about your posting. Oh, just share what you exactly just said. On my journey, I've struggled on how to be a coach because I see these people with amazing weight loss stories. And I struggled with connecting how I could even be a coach when that's not my experience. And, I just really realized my issues, because we all have issues, were founded in, being thin and the shame and the guilt with how I look from that and how people connect to me because of that. And I guarantee you, if you word it like that, you're going to open up a whole new world of amazing conversations and people identifying with you. So
that's the goal. I just got to get it done. So I'm going to have to go get these little turkeys. And I think Tanya just left. So
Yep. Tanya's gone too. Yep. Thank you guys so much.
Yes. Thank you for this. You see, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, sweetie. Have a good day.
Bye.
Oh, say
bye.
You gotta say hi too. Oh,
Bye, Eden.
bye. Bye,
Bye, Davin.
Bye, Davin.
Bye.
Oh.
Bye. She's going to hang up on us.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Oh.